Alrighty, this week's film is Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. That's the full title of the film. One time it was the longest film title. Don't know if it still is anymore. Most people just refer to it as Dr. Strangelove. It's an American director that you've probably heard of before, Stanley Kubrick. He's an American. He's born in New York City, but he leaves as a younger man and ends up staying in England and lives there and makes his films in England. This is a political satire. Many satires are political. Also referred to as a black comedy or a dark comedy. And Kubrick directed, produced, and co-wrote this, which means he's an auteur director. And we've started using that term a lot, and it certainly applies to Kubrick. He begins his professional career as a photographer, and when you see this film or you see any of his films, that'll come as no surprise. The cinematography is spectacular, stunning. He has an incredible eye. Some of the other films that you may have seen by him, he does Clockwork Orange, 2001, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, Eyes Wide Shut. A prolific director, and this is his first big blockbuster. I mentioned it's a satire. I want to just take a second and make sure that we're on the same page on what that means. So comedy is known for accepting the rules of the game, making fun, while satire attempts to subvert them. Think of it in this way. A comedy wants you to laugh. That's its goal. That's what it's trying to do. And good comedies do that. Satire takes it one step further. They want you to laugh, but then they also want you to think. And usually there's an absurd concept connected to it, and that's where satire does really well. And satire's been around for a long time. I mean, it's in some of the early Greek plays, so it's not an unfamiliar concept, but it's used here by Kubrick quite brilliantly. So the narrative is not one that you would pick to tell a story about. It's about nuclear annihilation and blowing up the whole world. If somebody approached you and asked you if that you thought that would make a good film, I think most people would answer no. However, the way that he treats it and the absurd nature of the conversations, where he chooses to film it, makes it an extremely intelligent, funny, and satirical film. So one of the examples of it is towards the end of the film. You'll see that these two characters and Dr. Strangelove is trying to convince him that there may be a positive side to global annihilation, and listen to how he tries to convince the fellas. As I mentioned before, cinematography is stunning. The set in the war room is phenomenal. But besides just having a good eye, he does what good directors do, and that is his pictures add to the narrative. So just like the cinematography supports the narrative, and good acting supports it, and the dialogue supports it, sound and editing, his cinematography is exceptional, and it's exceptional because of not just the composition, but what it does to the story. It's mid-60s, early 60s, 64, so the women's movement is really only starting to gain traction. And I don't know if it was intentional or not on his part, but you'll notice that in the war room, there are no women. It's a reflection of its time. And, you do a simple search for Greek gods and look how they are positioned. And it's very much what we see here in the war room. And that's intentional. This metaphor is these men are acting like gods. They have control over whether the world is going to continue to exist or not. The difference here is that, and I think you see the Parthenon down there at the bottom left, the difference here is the Greeks had female gods. Almost half were female, and they were part of this elite club and this group of gods. And it's interesting that we move back in time and we don't do a good job keeping that kind of integration, gender integration in our society. In fact, this is one of the few scenes with a woman in it, and you can tell by the setup how she's portrayed and what role women have in this world. You have pretty phenomenal acting here on a couple of fronts, and first and foremost is Peter Sellers. You may know him as the Pink Panther. He was a very popular actor, a very good actor. And in this movie, he plays 3 different characters. Usually when this happens, it's not successful. It's fraught with bad decisions. But in this case, he does pull it off. So he's in England as Mandrake. He plays the president, and most of his role, all of his role, is in the war room. And then his character, Dr. Strangelove, actually interacts with the president in the war room. So those are things to watch as an actor, how he shifts rather easily and creates unique characters in each case. He's not the only good one. George C. Scott is an incredible actor, goes on to play the lead in Patton. And this is a very different role for him. It's almost comical in a way, and that was not necessarily his forte. He does a good job. The guy on the right here is a gentleman named Sterling Hayden. He comes from the film noir era, and an excellent actor as well. And then Peter Sellers as Mandrake. He has his arm around him. Editing, the pace on the film is perfect. It does shift from some of the air, the flight scenes and that intensity, and then the pace in the war room is absolutely perfect for what needs to be said. Sound matched the scene, great dialogue. When they're in the airplane, you'll hear that white noise, and then in the war room you'll hear on the wider shots it echoes a little bit more as if you were further away, and then when the camera does come in, that echo goes away. So that's it for some of the things to look for. I have some good links for you. There's a really nice link on Kubrick and some of his style, and it lays it out extremely well, so I highly recommend that you watch that. Probably be a few questions on the quiz on that one. So again, congratulations on the midterm. You're halfway through this thing, and now at the end of this week, even that much further. So I wish you luck this week, and as always, reach out to me if you're struggling or have a problem with anything. Okay, cheers.